Hi everyone, I'm Sapphire Alexander. I'm the founder of Caribbean Feminist, which is a digital advocacy platform for youth to learn about gender justice based in Trinidad and Tobago. But I'm here at the lovely SIDS4 with the Caribbean Natural Resources Institute, also known as CANARI. And I'm here at SIDS4 to make sure that gender remains on the agenda of us. So far, my reviews have been a little bit mixed. So I feel like maybe it's good to start with the positives first. It's been really lovely to connect with activists from around the region who are working on the same issues that I care about. I was at the Gender Equality Forum over the weekend, and it was really lovely to learn and to have that intergenerational dialogue with feminists from throughout the Caribbean and the diaspora about what our priorities are for sustainable development. And a little bit more on the negative side of things in the outcome document for the Antigua and Barbuda, called the Antigua and Barbuda Agenda for SIDS. Even though, the word gender is used 13 times and women is used 7 times, there is a lack of meaningful dialogue there's a lack of meaningful inclusion of gender and really strong provisions on how we can protect the rights of women, girls, men and boys, and gender diverse folks in SIDS over the next 10 years. So it's lacking in that regard, and I would hope to see that in the roadmap for implementation. We're including things like sexual and reproductive health and rights and other provisions to protect these marginalized communities. So one of the things that I highlighted in a dialogue that I had with some fellow CSOs was the lack of SRHR programs in response to disaster risk prevention, adaptation, and mitigation. So there's this really incredible package called, I think, the Minimum Initial Service Package, which specifically outlines how to provide sexual and reproductive health and rights in the aftermath of a natural disaster. It speaks about programs, how to do programming, how to assign a coordinator for SRHR after a disaster. It also speaks about what to include in first aid packages to ensure that these communities have access to life-saving care. So those are one of the programs that I thought would be really great to see included in the implementation process, but unfortunately it was not there. The strength for implementation has always been in CSOs, right? Because CSOs are uniquely positioned between the government, they have that policy knowledge and that dialogue, and the people on the ground. And they have always been in service of their communities. I keep saying they, it's us, right? And so CSOs have been doing the work. I can speak just to reference a few from Trinidad and Tobago. There's Feminine Caribbean that is doing incredible work on providing SRHR to communities throughout the region, even though we don't have legal provisions for that. And so they are already doing the work, and we will continue to do the work. I think partnerships here have really allowed me to widen my breadth of knowledge and how gender can be intersected with other issues, really things like biodiversity conservation, food sovereignty, and other issues like that. But one of the issues that we raised over the Civil Society Summit with CANARI was the fact that CSOs, and feminists were talking about it as well, feminist CSOs and just general CSOs were not meaningfully included in the process of drafting this document. The SIDS conference is unique in that the outcome document is put together before the summit even begins, it's negotiated before it even begins, and CSOs were not adequately consulted, at the beginning. So it feels like our voices were not meaningfully included in there. So again, there's that emphasis on we really need to be doing the groundwork because the policy is not reflecting what needs to be done. It was great to see references to gender on a whole, right? We're facing a lot of regression in documents throughout the UN system. I was at CSW in March, and that was a huge issue that we're having, like a pushback on language. So, it is great to see gender-sensitive approaches prioritized in some areas of the document. But again, a lot of it was really siloed. So I think that is what gives me hope. But yeah. Access to SRHR and comprehensive sexuality education, that's a really big one. Gender-based violence prevention is another huge issue that we're tackling. I think 1 in 4 women in the Caribbean face gender-based violence within their lifetime. So there's really frightening statistics, right? So those are things that I really want to see prioritized in the next 10 years. I think Spotlight has just ended as well. So we're really struggling to see what is going to fill that gap to ensure that we're protecting these communities from violence. I would also like to see a more comprehensive approach or a more cohesive approach to development that doesn't just include gender as a by the way incorporation, but meaningfully includes it throughout all aspects of the document.